Is Joe Biden helping the dreamers? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States at our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. There are immigration lawyers out there right at this very moment making videos about how Joe Biden is helping dreamers with his new regulations that he put forward last week. The issue we're talking about today are the so-called dreamers, the children of people who came to the United States without permission and have been living in the United States their whole lives. Children who, through no fault of their own, have no immigration status, and because Congress refuses to act, have no path to citizenship or to a green card. Back during the Obama administration, President Obama tried to do things to help these dreamers and to help them get some kind of legal protection from deportation and the ability to work. At the time, he tried to work with Congress and got very close to getting comprehensive immigration reform passed, which would have included protection for the so-called dreamers and given them a path towards a green card. But that fell through because of some Republican hardliners in the House who refused to play ball and refused to allow immigration reform to pass under President Obama's watch. Faced with inaction in Congress, the president took matters into his own hands and developed the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, DACA, the DACA program. You've probably heard of it. It's been on the books, at least in the White House and in the USCIS and Department of Homeland Security for 10 years more. And so far, the Biden administration has been trying to prop it up. Now, in order to understand what happened last Tuesday, you need to get a little bit of history on the DACA program. The DACA program has been under assault since it started. People that don't like immigrants and don't like President Obama and don't like making things easier for the dreamers have challenged DACA in the courts. And the way that they've done that is they've filed them in jurisdictions where the judges were anti-Obama or anti-immigrant, and they've been able to tie up DACA at various times in the courts and prevent it from being fully implemented. When DACA first got started, it allowed the undocumented immigrants to get work cards and to get permission to stay in the United States without being deported. The theory was that the president, as the head of Homeland Security and all the agencies, had the ability to work with DHS to develop guidelines as to immigration priorities. Who did they want to deport the most? And they settled on criminals and people who repeatedly re-entered the United States without authorization. They decided to put at the bottom of the list children who arrived through no fault of their own in the United States without inspection, these dreamers. So one of the legal challenges that really made it hard for DACA to be fully implemented was a federal judge ruled that the Obama administration had done this by executive order and not by issuing regulations. So let's talk about the difference between an executive order and regulation. So an executive order is just a signed document by the president who has the power to issue executive orders to make things happen at agencies. The regulation procedures are all part of the Administrative Procedures Act, which requires the agencies to go through what's called the notice and comment period. That means that any agency has to publish a proposed rule, to allow the public to comment on it, and then to adopt a formal rule. And that rule is called a regulation. The regulation that was announced last Tuesday now puts into place the regulation that the federal judge ruled was improperly adopted by the Obama administration and throughout the implementation of DACA. So while we understand that a lot of people characterized what happened last week as Joe Biden making some kind of motion or change in DACA, really it wasn't. Really, it was just the fact that they've now issued regulations that allow for DACA to be renewed and allow people to continue to obtain work authorization and to allow people to continue renewing DACA. But it does not allow new DACA applications, and that's the real problem. DACA recipients have been able to renew it, but new people who might have been eligible have not been able to apply for DACA because of a judicial holding in another case. That judicial holding remains in place, and so you are allowed to file a brand new DACA application at this time. However, because of that court ruling, the DHS will not process new applications. They simply will continue to process renewal applications and allow people to get work authorization renewed over and over. The other major problem with what the Biden administration did or didn't do last week was they did not expand the category or the dates by which people might have been eligible for DACA. President Obama had adopted a pretty narrow set of dates in which people would be eligible to apply for DACA. And when I say dates, I mean the dates that they entered the United States. So now we have a situation where it's simply just going along to get along. Not much is changing when it comes to DACA. The renewals, like I said, are still a thing, but it hasn't expanded DACA or granted any more status. What you really need to understand about all this is that we need Congress to act. We can't rely on who is in the White House to determine what happens to these young people who are, in all respects except on paper, living like U.S. citizens and living exemplary lives and contributing to society. We want to allow all these people to get immigration status, to get in line. They've been here their whole lives. They did nothing wrong. And Congress refuses to act, refuses to protect them. And we have to pressure the members of Congress during these elections to commit to protecting young people and all immigrants. You know, this is just one piece of comprehensive immigration reform. But when it comes to the Dreamers, they've really been the ones who've been hurt the most by our nation's inability to act in their behalf. If you would like more information on DACA, or if you want to hire us to help you with a DACA renewal or even a new application from the start for DACA, we'd be happy to help. You can give us a call at 314-961-8200. You can email us at info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. We also have our Facebook group. It's called Immigrant Home. If you're looking for free information or to connect with other immigrants, you can join our Facebook group. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way, whenever we make new videos like this one, that you'll be sure to be notified. And on our YouTube channel and in our Facebook group, we go live 3 or 4 days a week where I answer as many of your immigration law related questions as possible on our Immigration Answers show. Thanks a lot, and we'd love to see you there. Peace out.